Hello and welcome. Today we're doing something a little different. This isn't going to be just another list of quick tips and tricks to stop procrastinating. No, we're going much, much deeper than that. Think of this as a masterclass, an exploration of an entire philosophy for taking real, meaningful action in your life. We're going to peel back the layers and get right to the very heart of why we get stuck, why we feel lazy in the first place. The goal here isn't just to change what you do, it's to fundamentally rewire how you think. We're going to build a new mental operating system from the ground up, one that's designed for purpose, for action, and for overcoming that inertia we all feel. So get ready. We're about to look at your time, your choices, and your own untapped potential in a completely new and hopefully really powerful light.
We're starting with this quote from Paulo Coelho because, honestly, it just cuts right through all the noise. It lays out the stakes for everything we're about to talk about. This isn't some abstract productivity seminar about getting your inbox to zero. This is about the very substance of your life, the one you're living right now. Just let those words sink in for a second. One day you will wake up and there won't be any more time. It's a bit of a chilling thought, isn't it? It's that quiet little fear that sometimes pops into your head late at night. The fear that all those things you said you'd do someday, write that book, learn that instrument, travel to that place, might just stay on the someday list forever. This quote injects our whole conversation with a profound sense of urgency. It's a reminder that the clock is always, always ticking. But here's the key. We're not using this feeling to create anxiety. We're going to use it as fuel.
Okay, here's a number. And at first glance, it might seem totally random, but I promise you it is one of the most personal numbers you'll ever hear. 3,700. What is it? Well, if you live to be about 72 years old, that's roughly how many weeks you get. Total. That's it. Let that land for a minute. Not years, not decades, weeks. See, we tend to think of our lives in these long, blurry stretches of time, right? Oh, I'll get to it next year. Next year feels like an eternity away. But when you break it down into these neat little 7-day blocks, suddenly time feels different. It feels tangible. You can almost hold it, and you realize just how finite it really is. If you're 30, you've already burned through about 1,560 of them. Gone. If you're 45, you're over 2,300. Again, this isn't about making you panic. It's about grounding us in a fundamental reality. Our time isn't an infinite resource. It's our most valuable currency, and it's non-renewable. You can't earn more of it.
And that, of course, brings us to the most important question of all. This is not rhetorical. I genuinely want you to think about this for a second. How are you spending your weeks, your precious, finite blocks of time? Think about last week. Just one of those 3,700 blocks. Was it spent intentionally? Were you moving, even just a little bit, towards a goal that actually matters to you? Did you connect with the people you love? Did you learn something new? Or did it just kind of evaporate? Did it disappear into a haze of mindless scrolling, of waiting for the right moment, of just settling for the easy, comfortable path of doing nothing? This question, it's like a personal audit of your life, and you're the only one who has the real answer.
This kind of self-reflection leads us straight into our first big idea, the urgency of now. Because look, before we can even begin to talk about solutions or new habits, we have to fully understand what we're up against. And the real enemy here isn't just laziness. It's something far more painful. It's the crushing, heavy weight of regret that comes from a life of wasted time. To truly, deeply appreciate the power of taking action, we first have to feel the sting of inaction. We have to understand what's really at stake.
Let's try a little thought experiment. I want you to imagine yourself at 80 years old, looking back on the life you've lived. What are the ghosts that are going to haunt you? This list right here, this isn't just guesswork. It's compiled from the real, documented regrets of people at the end of their lives. And each one tells a story. Not doing what you love, that's the pain of the guitar that's still sitting in the corner gathering dust, or the business idea that never made it out of the notebook. Being lazy and wasting time, that's the hollow ache you feel when you realize thousands of your precious hours were just lost to things that didn't matter at all. Not spending more time with family, that's the heartbreaking realization that those moments are gone and you can never ever get them back. And look at this one. It's a gut punch. Working hard for nothing in return. The tragedy of pouring all your energy, your life force, into somebody else's dream, somebody else's company, while your own health, your own joy, your own family got the leftovers.
Every single one of these regrets is a direct result of choosing delay over purpose, comfort over growth.
We are masters of self-deception, aren't we? We tell ourselves these elaborate stories about why we can't start yet. I'm just waiting for the right time. I need more money first. I'll do it when the kids are a little older. I'll start when the economy gets better. But here's the brutal truth. This idea of waiting for the perfect time is the biggest lie we tell ourselves. It's the #1 source of all that future regret we just talked about. There is no perfect time. The universe is not going to send you a formal, gold-embossed invitation to start your life. The stars will never perfectly align. There's that famous proverb, you've probably heard it. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. And that's not just some feel-good quote for a motivational poster. It's a fundamental law of reality. The past is gone. You can't change it. The future is just an illusion, a story we tell ourselves. The only point in time where you have any real power, the only moment you can actually do anything, is right now. This one.
Okay, so hopefully we're all feeling that sense of urgency. Now we can start to build. This brings us to our second section, the foundation of change. And I need you to lean in for this one, because what we're about to discuss is the single most important principle in this entire explainer. This is the bedrock, the non-negotiable cornerstone of the whole philosophy. If you don't get this one idea deep into your bones, then all the tips, tricks, and life hacks in the world are completely, utterly useless. This is the mindset shift that makes everything else possible.
Churchill, as usual, just nails it. The price of greatness is responsibility. Now, we're not talking about the responsibility you have to your boss or to pay your bills on time. We're talking about something much deeper. We are talking about taking 100% radical, no excuses responsibility for your own life, for your wins, for your losses, for your actions, and most importantly, for your inaction. The source material is incredibly blunt about this. If you're lazy, that's on you. If you're overweight, that's on you. If you're unhappy with where you are in life, that's on you. Now, I know that can sound harsh. It can feel like a personal attack. But I want you to flip it around, because it's actually the most empowering belief you can possibly adopt. Why? Because if it's your fault, that means you also have the power to fix it. Suddenly, you're not a helpless victim of your circumstances anymore. You are the architect. You're holding the blueprints.
Let's really break down this mental trap that our brains just love to fall into. When something goes wrong, what's our first instinct? It's usually to find someone or something to blame. We blame the terrible traffic for being late. We blame our unfair boss for not getting the promotion. We blame the bad economy for our financial struggles. And you know what? Blaming feels good for a second. It's a little hit of relief. It's a psychological defense that says, hey, this isn't my fault, so I don't have to do the really hard, uncomfortable work of fixing it. It lets us off the hook. But it's a trap, because it solves absolutely nothing. It's a total dead end. Action, on the other hand, action that comes from a place of responsibility is the only path forward. All the blaming in the world won't write a single sentence of your novel, but taking responsibility and carving out 30 minutes to actually write, that will.
This is one of those truths that can be a little tough to swallow, but once you really, truly accept it, it is incredibly freeing. Nobody is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your partner, not your friends. They might love you to death, but they cannot live your life for you. They can't do your push-ups for you. They have their own struggles, their own battles to fight. As the source material says, their own life is a mess, so how can they change yours? You are the hero of your own story. There is no cavalry coming over the hill. It's just you. And this idea is captured perfectly in this brilliant little parable about a farmer and some very, very wise sparrows.
So the story goes like this. A mother sparrow builds her nest and raises her little chicks in a big field of wheat. It's safe, it's warm. One day, the farmer who owns the field comes by, looks at the crops, and says aloud, "The wheat is ripe. It's time to harvest. Tomorrow I must call my sons to come and help me cut it down." Well, the baby sparrows hear this and they are terrified. They start chirping, "Mother, mother, we have to leave right now." But the mother sparrow is completely calm. She says, "Don't worry, my children. The work won't get done tomorrow. He is depending on others." And sure enough, she was right. The next day comes and goes and nothing happens. A few days later, the farmer returns, looking a bit more frustrated. He says, "This crop is starting to spoil. I can't wait for my sons. Tomorrow I will go hire some laborers from the village to come and cut it." Again, the little sparrows panic, but the mother sparrow just shakes her head. Still don't worry, she tells them. He is still depending on others. And again, she's right. No laborers show up. Finally, the farmer comes back one last time, totally exasperated. He looks at the field and declares to himself, I've waited long enough. This is my responsibility. Tomorrow morning, I will come with my own scythe and cut these crops myself. The second he says this, the mother sparrow quickly gathers her children. Now, she says, it is time for us to leave. For now he is depending on himself, and the work will finally be done. The lesson is just so clear, isn't it? Real, meaningful action only begins when you take 100% personal responsibility.
This core principle of responsibility really divides the world into three kinds of people. And as I go through them, be honest with yourself about which one sounds most familiar. First, you have the vast majority, the one who never starts. This is the farmer, waiting for his sons, waiting for the laborers. They live their entire lives in a state of someday I'll. They're waiting for permission, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. Second, you have the one who starts but gives up at the first sign of trouble. This is the person who gets a burst of motivation, buys the gym membership, goes 5 times, realizes it's actually hard, and then quits. They're destined to look back on a life filled with half-finished projects and a whole lot of regret. And then there's the third type, the small minority who actually achieve what they set out to do, the one who persists despite hardship. They understand that progress isn't a straight line. They know they'll face setbacks, they'll get discouraged, but they get back up. They learn, they adapt, and they keep moving forward.
And this brings us to another one of those really powerful, direct challenges. Which one are you choosing to be today? And I want you to pay close attention to the wording there. It doesn't ask which one you are, as if this is some fixed, permanent personality trait you were born with. No, it's about a conscious choice. A choice you get to make every single morning when you wake up. Today, are you choosing to be the person who waits? Are you choosing to be the person who lets the first little obstacle send you back to the couch? Or are you choosing to be the one who persists? Your identity isn't a noun, it's a verb. It's something you forge every single day in the fire of these small choices.
So, we've got the urgency, we've accepted total responsibility. What's the next great battle we have to win? Well, that leads us right into Section 3, Escaping the Comfort Zone. In this section, we're going to identify the main enemy of all our progress. And guess what? It isn't some external villain. It's not your boss, it's not the economy, it's the warm, cozy, and incredibly dangerous allure of our own mediocrity. It's the powerful gravitational pull of what is easy, safe, and familiar.
This quote just perfectly captures the paradox of the comfort zone. On one hand, it feels safe. It's a beautiful place, right? It's the couch in your favorite Netflix show. It's the job you can do in your sleep. It's eating the same foods, talking to the same people, thinking the same thoughts. But it's a gilded cage, because nothing ever grows there. Growth, by its very definition, is uncomfortable. Learning a new language is frustrating. Starting a business is terrifying. Getting into great physical shape is painful. Real growth absolutely demands that we step out of what we know and into the unknown. And if you're not growing, you're stagnating. And that beautiful place slowly, quietly, becomes a stagnant, smelly pond. So how do we break out of this cage? The master key is cultivating what the slide calls long-term thinking. You see, our brains are ancient hardware. They are hardwired for instant gratification. This goes back to our caveman days. If you saw a berry, you ate it. You didn't form a committee to discuss its long-term benefits. Our brain rewards us with a little hit of a feel-good chemical called dopamine for doing easy, pleasurable things, like eating a donut or getting a like on social media. Escaping the comfort zone requires using the more modern part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, to override that ancient primal impulse. It's about consciously choosing the short-term discomfort of discipline, like going to the gym instead of sleeping in, for the massive, life-changing reward of a better future. You're making a deliberate trade. You're sacrificing a little bit of comfort right now to avoid a lifetime of regret later.
Now here's a crucial thing to understand. When you step out of your comfort zone, things are going to happen that you didn't plan for. You will face setbacks, you'll fail. And our immediate instinct is to label these events, oh, this is good, or this is so bad. But this kind of black and white, short-sighted thinking is a huge trap that can paralyze you with fear. There's another brilliant story, this one about a farmer and his horse, that illustrates a much wiser way to look at the unpredictable events of our lives. So this is a classic Taoist story. There's an old farmer, and his most prized possession is a beautiful horse. One day, the horse runs away. All his neighbors come over to console him. "Oh, what terrible luck," they say. "That's just awful." The farmer just shrugs his shoulders and replies, "Maybe." A few days later, the horse comes back, and it's brought 10 wild, magnificent horses with it. Now the neighbors are ecstatic for him. "What amazing luck," they all shout. "You're so fortunate." The farmer, calm as ever, just says, "Maybe." The very next day, the farmer's son tries to tame one of these wild horses. He gets thrown off and breaks his leg badly. The neighbors all rush over again. "Oh, your poor son, that's horrible luck," they cry. The farmer just looks at them and says, "Maybe." A week later, the emperor's army marches into the village. They are conscripting every single able-bodied young man to fight in a brutal, deadly war. They take all the other sons, but they see the farmer's son with his broken leg and they leave him behind. The neighbors are amazed. "You are the luckiest man alive." And the farmer just smiles and says, "Maybe." The point is so profound. We almost never know the true consequence of an event when it happens. What seems like a total disaster today might be the very thing that saves your life tomorrow. Adopting this maybe mindset frees you to keep taking action without being crippled by the fear of bad outcomes.
All right, it is time for a training montage for your mind. Welcome to Section 4, Rewiring Your Mindset. We've established the urgency, we've taken responsibility, and we're ready to step out of our comfort zone. Now we're going to forge the specific mental models, the principles, the weapons that you'll use to fight back against procrastination, perfectionism, and the fear of failure. This is about building your mental arsenal.
This quote by the great Jim Rohn is one of the most powerful reframes I have ever heard. We tend to think of discipline as this horrible burden we have to endure because it's hard. But this quote pulls back the curtain and reveals the real truth. Pain is not optional. You don't get a choice between pain and no pain. You only get to choose your pain. On one side, you have the pain of discipline. It's the soreness you feel after a great workout. It's the mental fatigue after a period of deep, focused work. It's temporary, it's constructive, and, as they say, it weighs ounces. On the other side, you have the pain of regret. It's the deep, hollow ache of knowing what you could have been, what you could have done, what you could have built. It is lifelong, it is destructive, and it weighs tons. When you truly, deeply understand that you have to pick one of those two pains, the choice becomes incredibly clear.
But even with the strongest mindset in the world, there are going to be days you get knocked down. There will be moments of failure, times when you feel utterly defeated and you question why you even started. The path out of laziness and into a life of action is not a smooth, upward climb. It is full of peaks and deep valleys. So what do you do when you're in one of those valleys? Our source material offers another incredible story. This one about a king and a secret message, which acts as the ultimate tool for keeping your perspective during all of life's crazy ups and downs.
The story goes that a powerful king summoned his wisest advisors. He gave them a challenge. "Create for me a single phrase," he said, "one that will serve me well in all times and all situations. A phrase that will help me in my darkest moments of despair and also in my greatest moments of triumph." After much deliberation, they presented him with a simple, beautiful ring. Years pass. The king's kingdom is overthrown in a violent coup. He's forced to flee for his life, pursued relentlessly by his enemies. He runs until he finds himself trapped at the edge of a massive cliff. There's nowhere left to go. In total despair, ready to give up, he suddenly remembers the ring. He fumbles with it and finds a tiny, hidden inscription inside. He reads the words, "This too shall pass." And in that moment, a profound calm washes over him. He realizes this terror, this defeat, is temporary. His mind clears, he finds a hidden path down the cliff, and his enemies ride right past without seeing him. He eventually gathers his loyal forces and wins back his entire kingdom. Months later, he's at the center of a massive victory parade. The crowds are cheering, he's filled with immense pride, an intoxicating feeling of invincibility. He glances down at his hand, and the sunlight catches the ring. He reads the inscription again,
This too shall pass. And in that moment, it doesn't bring him calm. It brings him humility. It's such a powerful reminder. Our lowest lows and our highest highs, they are both just temporary states. They will pass.
Let's talk about one of the sneakiest, most clever disguises for laziness, perfectionism. Now, perfectionism can be a good thing, a virtue, but it can also be a crippling disease. It's a virtue when you're Leonardo da Vinci spending 16 years perfecting the Mona Lisa. It's a virtue when you're Steve Jobs, famously insisting that the circuit board inside the first Macintosh computer had to be beautiful and elegant, even though no customer would ever see it. That is a noble pursuit of timeless excellence. But it becomes a disease when we use it as a fancy excuse for procrastination. It's hiding our fear of starting behind this noble-sounding mask of wanting to get it right. You know what I'm talking about. You spend 3 hours researching the optimal method for organizing your bookshelf instead of just organizing the bookshelf. You spend a week designing the perfect logo for a business that doesn't even exist yet. For most things in life, most daily tasks and reversible decisions, done is better than perfect. Just ship the email, make the phone call, write the first crappy draft, cut the grass. You can always come back and improve it later.
This ancient proverb from Confucius is the perfect introduction to our next mental enemy, the myth of multitasking. We live in a culture that glorifies being busy. We see people juggling a dozen browser tabs, 2 phone conversations, and an email at the same time, and we think, wow, they're so productive. But as this simple image of chasing 2 rabbits suggests, and as modern neuroscience has proven beyond a doubt, it's a complete and total illusion. The human brain cannot focus on 2 cognitively demanding tasks at the same time. It's impossible. What we call multitasking is actually just rapid task switching. And every single time you switch, you pay a cognitive price. It leads to more mistakes, less creativity, and a shallower understanding of everything you're working on.
If you want a truly catastrophic, real-world example of what a lack of focus can do, look no further than NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter. Back in 1999, NASA sent this incredible piece of technology, a spacecraft worth $125 million on a journey of millions of miles to study the Martian climate. The product of countless hours of genius-level work. As it finally approached Mars and prepared to enter its orbit, Mission Control suddenly lost the signal, and it never came back. The probe was gone, completely destroyed. A massive investigation was launched, and what did they find? The cause of this $100 million failure was a shockingly simple error. One engineering team at Lockheed Martin, who built part of the spacecraft, used English units, pound-seconds, in their software. But the NASA team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory who were flying the thing used the metric system, Newton seconds. This tiny, little conversion error, a mistake that was born from a lack of unified, focused attention on one critical detail, caused the orbiter to enter the Martian atmosphere at the completely wrong altitude, where it promptly burned up and disintegrated. A $125 million bonfire, all because people weren't focused on the same thing. It's a terrifying reminder that focus isn't just a nice-to-have. It's absolutely essential. All right, we've done a ton of work on our mindset. Now it's time to get practical. Welcome to Section 5, your anti-laziness toolkit. This is where we shift gears from the philosophical to the immediately actionable. If the mindset is the new operating system for your brain, think of these as the apps you're going to install on it. These are the specific tools, the techniques, and the hard and fast rules you can start using literally today to fight back against procrastination and start building some real momentum. First up in our toolkit is a classic for a reason, the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. It's a fascinating observation that for many things in life, roughly 80% of the results come from just 20% of the effort. This isn't just a business theory, it's practically a law of nature. 20% of your customers will likely generate 80% of your revenue. You probably wear 20% of the clothes in your closet 80% of the time. So what's the takeaway? The goal is not to be busy. Busyness is a trap. It's a form of laziness. The real goal is to be effective. Most people spend their entire day in the big, comfortable 80% slice of trivial work, answering unimportant emails, reorganizing their desk, attending meetings that go nowhere, because it feels productive. But the secret to massive progress is to be ruthless in identifying and then focusing on that vital 20% of tasks, the hard, important work that actually moves the needle. So ask yourself, what are the 20% of my actions that will generate 80% of the results I want?
and then do those things first.
Next up in the toolkit, Parkinson's Law. This one is so simple and yet so powerful. It just states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. And we all know this is true. It's a universal human quirk. If a professor gives you an entire semester to write a 10-page paper, you will likely spend most of that semester not writing it, and then do all the work in a frantic panic during the final week. If your boss gives you a month to finish a report, it will feel like a month-long project. But what if they came to you in a panic and said, I know I said a month, but I need that report by the end of the day? You'd freak out for a minute, and then you get it done. You can use this law as your own personal superpower. Instead of giving yourself these vague, long deadlines, set short, aggressive, artificial ones. Give yourself 25 minutes to clean the entire kitchen. Give yourself 90 minutes to write the first draft of that proposal. What this does is it creates a healthy sense of urgency, and it forces your brain to cut out all the fluff and focus only on the absolute essential actions needed to complete the task. It's like a magic trick for efficiency.
Now, our source presents this incredibly elegant and holistic system for living a more disciplined life, built on these 8 Japanese concepts. Each one is a deep philosophy in its own right. We're going to take a closer look at Ikigai on the next slide because it's the engine. But let's quickly touch on the others. Kaizen is the idea of focusing on just 1% daily improvement. Instead of trying to make these huge, revolutionary changes that are impossible to sustain, you just focus on getting a tiny bit better every single day. Shoshin means beginner's mind. It's about approaching tasks, even ones you've done 1,000 times, with curiosity and without ego, which keeps things fresh and helps you keep learning. Harahachi-bu is a dietary concept from Okinawa. Stop eating when you're 80% full. This isn't just about weight. It gives you more physical energy and prevents that sluggish, lazy feeling you get from overeating. Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, is the simple practice of spending mindful, quiet time in nature to de-stress and clear your head. Wabi-sabi is the art of finding beauty in imperfection and impermanence. It's a powerful antidote to that crippling perfectionism we talked about. And finally, you have ganbaru and gaman. They're 2 sides of the persistence coin. Ganbaru is about doing your absolute best, giving it your all. And gaman is about showing endurance and perseverance when times get tough. Put them all together and you have a beautiful framework for a more deliberate life.
Let's dive a little deeper into Ikigai, because honestly, it's the rocket fuel that can power everything else we've discussed. The word translates roughly to a reason for being. It is the ultimate antidote to laziness, because it's not about forcing yourself to do things with willpower, it's about being pulled forward by a powerful sense of purpose. It's that feeling of waking up in the morning and knowing why you're getting out of bed. And it's found at the intersection of these 4 fundamental questions. First, what do you truly love? What activities bring you joy and make you feel alive? Second, what are you good at? What are your natural talents and skills? Third, what does the world need? How can your unique abilities serve others and make a contribution? And fourth, what can you be paid for? How can you make a living and sustain yourself? See, a lot of us get stuck with only 2 or 3 of these circles. We have a job that pays the bills but that we hate. Or we have a hobby that we love, but that doesn't really serve anyone. True, deep, energizing motivation, your Ikigai, is found right in that magical sweet spot where all 4 of these circles overlap. Now, finding it isn't easy. It's a journey of self-discovery, but it is probably the most important journey you will ever take.
And finally, to round out our toolkit, we have 2 incredibly simple but profoundly effective rules for taking action. First is the 5-minute rule. It's as simple as it sounds. If a task pops into your head that will take less than 5 minutes to complete, like answering a quick email, taking out the trash, or making your bed, you do it immediately. No debating. No, I'll do it later. You just do it. This works because it prevents all those tiny little tasks from piling up into an overwhelming mountain of stuff I have to do. It leverages a cool psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect, which says our brains get stressed out by incomplete tasks. By closing these little loops right away, you free up a ton of mental energy. The second is the 2-day rule. This is your secret weapon for building new habits. Let's say you decide you want to start exercising every day. Life is going to get in the way sometimes and you might miss a day. That's okay. 1 day off is just an exception. But the rule is you can never miss 2 days in a row. Ever. Why? Because missing once is an anomaly. Missing twice is the beginning of a brand new negative habit. It's breaking the chain. This rule gives you the perfect balance of flexibility and accountability.
We're approaching the end of our journey together. We've gone from the big, high-level philosophy all the way down to the nitty-gritty tools and techniques. And now, we're going to zoom back out to bring it all together in our final section, living a deliberate life. This is about taking all these separate ideas and weaving them together into a coherent philosophy. It's about building a life of purpose and intention, a life that you design, on your own terms, not one that just happens to you by default. A huge part of living a deliberate life is learning to trust your own inner compass and learning how to filter out the relentless noise of the outside world. We are drowning in opinions. Everyone has something to say about how you should live your life, and the source material offers a crucial piece of advice here. Be very careful who you take advice from. Don't take advice from people who don't have the kind of life you want to live. If an unhappy, cynical person gives you advice on how to be happy, or a broke person gives you financial advice, you should probably be a little skeptical. There's one final and frankly hilarious parable about a father, his son, and their donkey that drives this point home perfectly.
So a father and his young son are traveling to the market and they're leading their donkey. At first, they're both just walking beside it. A group of people pass by and shout, "You fools! What's a donkey for if not to ride on?" So trying to please them, the father lifts his son onto the donkey's back. A little further down the road, they pass another group. They jeer, "Look at that lazy, good-for-nothing youth, making his poor old father walk in the hot sun." So embarrassed, they switch places. Now the father is riding and the son is walking. "What a selfish man," the next crowd cries out, riding in comfort while his poor little boy has to walk. Completely exasperated, they both decide to get on the donkey. Well, you can guess what happens next. "You monsters," people scream. "You're torturing that poor animal. How could you?" At their absolute wits' end, they get off the donkey, cut down a pole, tie the donkey's feet to it, and hoist it onto their shoulders to begin carrying it. The sight is so completely absurd that everyone they pass just points and laughs and calls them idiots. The moral of the story is so powerful. If you try to please everyone, you will please no one. And in the end, you'll just end up looking like a fool carrying a donkey. You have to learn to trust your own judgment.
And just like that, we've come full circle. We started this whole conversation with the chilling urgency of our limited time, and we end with it here. This final statement, it isn't just a suggestion. It's a command. It's a command from your future self to your present self. Time is running out. Start living. It's direct, it's emotional, and it's a powerful call to action that really wraps up everything we've talked about. So, we're not going to end with a neat little summary. We're going to end with a challenge, a direct and personal question just for you. After all of this, after exploring the deep pain of regret, the immense power of responsibility, the trap of the comfort zone, and all the tools for taking action, I want you to answer this. What is the one thing you have been putting off that you will start today? Not tomorrow, not next week, not when the time is right. Today. Just take a quiet moment, get an answer in your head, maybe even write it down on a piece of paper. Because action, as we have now learned, is the only thing that truly matters. Thank you for joining me for this explainer.